Hey guys, so I just wanted to take a quick moment to walk you through some updates on my tomatoes. As you remember, this tomato box is, I believe, 4 foot by like 22 feet. And I have a number of tomato plants and a number of tomato varieties in here. But I just wanted to just give you a quick look at the updates of what's going on with my tomatoes, how everything's looking, and just let you know that I'm a little nervous about all of these tomatoes that I'm currently growing, because that means I'm going to have to do something with all of them. My plan is to can a lot of them and make like tomato sauce and different canned tomatoes and things like that for most of the tomatoes in here. However, I will be giving some of them away and freezing some and a bunch of different things just to manage the sheer number of tomatoes that are actually growing out here on my plants. So, I put the tomatoes in here sometime in May, about mid-May or somewhere around in there, and they started with some small seedlings, and yeah, they are doing very well. I have pruned a lot of them heavily, and then some of them even had some breakage, so they kind of self-pruned. So but let's just take a quick look. So this is my sweet, it's called Super Sweet 100s. And this is a cherry tomato variety. As you can see, there are lots of little tomatoes on here already growing. Same thing with this plant. There are a lot of tomatoes that are growing on here. You see how healthy these are? Lots and lots of tomatoes on the vine, and just utilizing the sun to really get ready. I believe that this is a yellow tomato variety, and I pruned it some, probably not enough, but it is growing and spreading throughout the garden and doing extremely well. This guy right here is a yellow pear tomato, and as you can see, kind of the pear shape of the tomatoes that grow on it. I just did a heavy prune on this, and I could probably do more, but I don't want to leave that many exposed pieces on here. But there are probably 60 to 80 little mini pear tomatoes on this plant alone. Back here is another yellow tomato variety. There's a red tomato that's got flowers, and it was kind of slow going there, but it has some flowers on it, and then it's finally starting to grow. These guys are, I believe that these are my heirlooms, so I think that these are Cherokee purples, and as you can see, there are a lot of tomatoes growing and hidden in here. Again, just trying to figure out what I'm going to do with all of these. This little guy back here, I don't remember what it is, but there are tomatoes growing on here. This is the start. I'm sorry for the zoom. Okay, here we go. So this is the start of all of my sauce tomatoes, and each one of these have been pretty much pruned to a single stem, so they are kind of self-contained. However, if you can look, I've got tons of tomatoes on vine, and all doing extremely well. I'm very happy with what I'm seeing here. You guys know, if you like tomato sauce, you're going to use quite a few of these to make just a simple jar of sauce. So, and I'll probably make some salsa and different things like that. But each one of these has several, probably 8 to 10 tomatoes on them already, probably more than that. And they are continuing to grow. These are an indeterminate varieties, so they will continue growing throughout the growing season and producing fruit. And yeah, so that's what's going on with those guys. And then back here in the back are my big boys, and these are those beefsteak or big beef tomatoes. So these are going to be some decent sized tomatoes before they're ready. My biggest one, let me see if I can get to it. It's right there so far, and it's looking pretty good. When it gets pretty big, I will harvest that guy, and again, all of the rest of them are on here looking really good, looking very happy and healthy. Haven't had any issues with blossom end rot on any of my tomatoes. I did have a little bit on some of my squash, but it looks like it's taking care of itself. As you saw, like the other day, I harvested, I think just yesterday, a yellow squash and a zucchini, and there are more zucchini growing down in there and more yellow squash growing down in there. I've got lots of patty pan squash growing in here. I've got to figure out what size they need to be before I harvest them. I even got a nice little sizable one right over here. So I really do need to start checking that to make sure when it's time for me to harvest that, so that I get it at its peak perfection. And then in through here, I have my acorn squash. So I've got one right there, and then there are two right there. So yeah, there's that one, and then there's those two, and lots of little baby ones coming along. So I'll have lots of squash for my winter squash when that comes along. And my corn is growing slowly but surely. This is my first year really doing corn in a regular bed, and I might need to make some adjustments next year. We'll see, but I wanted to give it a shot and see what was going to happen. So I'm pretty happy with the way that things are going along right now. Yeah, lots of growth, lots of things coming along. Quick look at the cucumber trellis. It's doing extremely well. Potatoes are getting almost to the point where they're getting ready to start dying off. So it'll be time to harvest potatoes probably within the next few weeks, maybe the next month. Onions, I pulled some of them already and dried. I will continue to keep an eye on these, and as they really start to fall over, I will harvest those guys and go through the curing process so that I can store them. Down in here, I've got my beets. And so my beets are doing good. Took them a lot longer than I anticipated. Usually beets are supposed to be a quick growing vegetable, but I don't find that to be true in my case. But my beets are doing good. Those are the red Detroit Reds. And then I've got some yellow beets growing down in here that are coming along as well. They took their sweet time too. So that's that. We've got a little bit more radishes coming. And, oh, gotta show ya. I got some carrots. Hold on, let me find it. There we go. Ah, there's a carrot. Yay. So I just wanted to show you what was going on in my garden, especially as it relates to the tomatoes, because they are really thriving. Peppers are coming along, beans are coming along, dealing with some worm issues on the cabbage, but that's pretty normal. So I might go ahead and pull that and go ahead and plant some winter crops in that place, so that I can have more winter vegetables as they come along, or even replant some more brassicas in its place and just wait and see what happens. So I'm just going to play along with it and see what happens. No big rush, no big deal. What thrives, and what doesn't. It's a learning lesson. So, I don't beat myself up over what does good and what doesn't. I always wish that everything that you put in your garden does very well, but that's not always the case. So it's just a learning lesson. And each year that you plant a garden, you have to be willing to learn from what does well in your yard, what doesn't do well, and maybe there are things that you might have to change. So so just being willing to learn and accept defeat, because everything won't be perfect every time. All right, guys, well, I just wanted to take you through and give you a quick update, and I hope that this helps you out a little bit, and let me know if you have any questions. All right, I will talk to you soon. Take care. Bye.